Hello, it's Dawn Michelle from Boho Tarot, and welcome to my monthly tarot journal, where I'm going to share with you the pages that I created in my tarot journal throughout the month of August. So jumping in, I didn't really have an idea of anything that I wanted to do in terms of a layout or a theme for the month of August. And you'll see here that what I started with and what I ended up with were two very different things. So every month I do my sort of cover page for the month, and I list the main decks that I worked with. You can see here that I have August. I made this little jar to put all my decks in, and it's always fun to kind of create a different little theme for each of these every month. And this one definitely tied into the theme that I had in my planner, which is this here. So you can see it's very similar, and I kind of just wanted to pull those two together. I really liked the look of it, and I thought it would be cute to pull it together and to do the same thing in my tarot journal. So that was my initial kind of thought process at the beginning of the month. And you'll see as we move throughout the month that what I ended up creating for the month ended up being very, very different. So I was kind of following along with that same kind of layout at the beginning of August. I did do a month ahead reading where I used the Dreaming Way as my main tarot deck for this message, and I used my Telluric Runes and my Goddess Dream card. Now, I didn't end up using either one of these two decks again throughout the month, and that's totally fine. So I didn't actually talk about them in my monthly reflections. I have talked about those decks in other monthly reflections when I have used them in the past, but I did end up tapping back into the Dreaming Way again for the first couple weeks of the month. Is definitely one of my favorite decks. So what I did was I pulled a rune card for my foundational energy for the month, what I wanted to focus on. Then I have my reading here that's coming from my Dreaming Way Tarot, and then a sort of affirmation message to carry me through the month, which I pulled from the Goddess Dream Oracle using the guidebook to pull that affirmation, because in the guidebook there's affirmation messages in there. And so that was my month ahead of kind of what I wanted to focus on and what I wanted to be mindful about throughout the month. And I love having these month ahead spreads. Sometimes that does help me kind of rein things back in and kind of give me a target of something that I might want to work towards throughout the month. So in terms of what I did here on the page, I have some craft paper here in the back, which this is like a Post-it note, right? I just tore the bottom off. It's actually the other side of this. So I just used the remnants, popped it up there, wrote month, colored copied my cards, put them in here, and then you can see that I have kind of things separated out with my information from my rune card here. My highlighted areas, my messages from the Dreaming Way, and then my affirmation message down at the bottom. And I just pulled in some of the little butterflies from this little design here because I thought it was really cute. So moving into the first week, I did a 3-card reading, and I think this is something that I did last month too, where I was kind of just doing 1 3-card reading for the week and kind of coming back to touch base with that reading all throughout the week. That's been really helpful, particularly when I've been super busy in my personal life and my family life, and I haven't had a ton of time for tarot. So when I find that my personal life or my home life or my work life or whatever gets a little bit hectic and I have less time to dedicate to my practice, rather than kind of just shoving it to the side, I simplify when I need to. So that was this month where I basically simplified my practice down to just a couple readings a week and really focusing in on those messages and not really pressuring myself to continue to work with decks or to do readings on a continual basis all week long when I was already pressed for time. So the first week I was using my soul flowers with my Dreaming Way. I really love this setup. You can see I was kind of still pulling in that craft paper energy here that I had here and I had on the front. I really thought that's what I was going to do this month. You'll see here in a moment that that is so not what I ended up doing this month. I did my reading initially on Monday with my message. I came back in and checked on it on Wednesday to kind of see where I'm at with this message. And then Friday, I checked in again, kind of looking back at the week. I have the message from the Hawthorn here, which was my kind of central focus for the week. And I wanted to make sure that I really paid attention to that message. So I put it up here so that it would visually draw my eye to the page here. And you can see that this is a very, very simple layout. I just have some craft paper stuck down here. I've got my cards pasted in and just different colored ink. As I've mentioned many times, anything that is in a different color Like big text like this that's in a different color other than black means that it's someone else's writing. It's something I pulled from a guidebook or from some other resource, and it's just a way for me to visually note that it's not my words. Anything written in black is my own writing, my own thoughts and feelings, and so that's just a way for me to really quickly distinguish between the two, and I pretty much keep that consistent throughout all of my journals, actually. So what I started doing on every Sunday was to kind of go back to my self-care Sunday reading practice. And rather than having particular prompts, what I did was I just laid a couple of different cards from a couple of different decks. As I mentioned in my reflections video, this was actually inspired by the walkthrough that I did on the deck for Wonder Walking. And then I was pairing it with the Kai Tarot Love and the Flora Healing because I was feeling like I was very creatively stifled this month. And so I really wanted to tap into that creative energy. And so I let that happen here in this journal. And I ended up pulling the keyword up here. So as listen, this is a little bit from the guidebook. So it's reminding me what to listen to. I have my message here through the Kai Tarot, and that's reflected here. And then I have my healing message for the week, and that's here, and its variety is the healing message for this particular card. So I kind of have what to focus on, how to embrace it, and what healing energy to take with me. And then what I did was kind of just pulled in some artistic elements from the cards themselves, because again, I was feeling very creatively stifled. And so I wanted to give myself some room to play. So it started really, really simple. I just doodled these little flowers because I think they're so cute. And I doodled this little black thing down here at the bottom. And I love the kind of gray swashy background back here. And so I just did that around the page. Really pretty simple, but it did help me to kind of re-tap back into my creative energy, which was really, really waning, particularly at the beginning of the month. And you'll see here that I kind of took that motif and ran with it throughout the rest of the month. So moving into the next week, I did the same 3-card reading, again, still using the soul cards and the dreaming way. And here I have, again, the message from the soul cards up here, my keyword for the week, which I pulled from the Oracle deck, which was surrender. A little bit from the card here. And then for this one, I just had a message of the week. So what this 3-card meant to me at the beginning of the week. And then I did kind of a reflect back on it on Friday. I really didn't write or journal anything in between, but I did come and check in kind of with these cards, just looking back at it on a daily basis. I do tend to flip through my journals daily just so I can kind of refresh myself with whatever it is that I have set an intention for throughout the week. And then for this particular one, what I did was I kind of very poorly doodled the kind of starburst energy of this flower here. And I really wanted that to be kind of coming out of this card. So I drew this in first. And then I wanted to pull in some of the energy or some of the coloration from the tower. So a little bit of that chaoticness. So I did that up here with some gray tombos and then just some black smudges on the top, and then the lightning bolt coming down. And then to wrap up my week, I wanted to pull in a little bit of the calm and a little bit of the nature energy and some of the green that I was seeing here in the 6 of Wands. And so I just did some real loose, you could say that's maybe grass down here, or just really some green squiggles down at the bottom, just to kind of pull that energy. So take that tower energy through the kind of starburst of the lily down into the kind of back into nature, back into the kind of calm and the harmony of the green here. And then I also did some kind of speckles, some just kind of slashes across the page to kind of mimic that energy. And this really did kind of mimic what was going on in my life at the time and the energy that I had going on and some of the things that we were kind of dealing with. And so then the next Sunday, I returned to this practice again, which was so much fun. And using the same decks, I was doing my kind of self-care reading. This is the title from this card and the message of what I need to pay attention to for the week. I have my message here from the Kai Tarot. Again, this is my own reflections on it because, again, it's in black. And then we have the healing message from Hibiscus, which is stages. And I have the message here from the back of the card. Now, doodle-wise, I was kind of trying to mimic some of the different things that I saw going on in the different cards. So some of the kind of design going on in this card with these flowers, but pulling in more of this coloration. And then we have these little, I don't even really know what these are, if they're flowers or they're butterflies or what, but I kind of mimicked that in that color here. And again, was also trying to pull in some of the gray and the black that I saw in both of these cards to kind of just tie them all together into kind of a creative expression. This was me just really taking some time to play and to kind of re-tap into my creative energy. I also included some gray dots in here. I just kind of love the look of that. It kind of mimics what's going on here in this card, as well as some of the dots that are in this card as well. So I thought that was really fun just to kind of pull those all together. So moving into the next week, I switched decks and I was using the Ink Witch with the Moon deck. And this one is fairly simple kind of layout, but I really wanted this big moon back here. And so this is my really kind of messy and just kind of doodly interpretation of that moon energy. I wanted it really big and front and center so that I would remember to connect with that. I pulled the keyword out of this card, and the keyword I pulled was movement. And then I have my cards from the Ink Witch here. And again, I was just kind of mimicking some of the artwork throughout the different cards. So we have the moon from this card. We have the little bubbles or dots or light circles here from the Two of Cups. They're here and they're here. And then I also pulled in those little starbursts that we see here in the Six of Wands, and you can see those across the page as well. Now for this particular reading, I did do my Monday message. I checked back in with it on Wednesday, and I checked in with it and kind of reflected back again on Friday. This is a really wonderful way for me to kind of really take some time to connect with a simple 3-card reading and to really dive deep into it throughout the week. And I really love the creative expression that I was really able to tap into, and just kind of letting whatever element caught my attention about a card, kind of let that reflect and play on the page, which is really fun. So here we have another kind of self-care Sunday spread, and again, still working with the same decks where we have the keyword here, what to be aware of. I pulled some of that over here too because I felt like that was something I really needed to focus on. Again, we have my message from my tarot and my message from my Flora Healing, where we had sage with the message of cleanse. This one, again, really simple doodle, just letting a few things kind of just pique my interest. I love these little flowers here that I saw reflected here in the bottom of this Ace of Swords. And then I have these kind of 3 little, I think those are maybe feathers. I'm not sure what they are, but I put them up here because they just kind of drew my attention. And then I pulled in the butterfly from the discernment card here, and you can see the butterfly actually trails across all the cards down to the end of the page, which is always fun. It just kind of visually ties things in. And then I just did some dots. I love dots. They fill space beautifully. And it was fun to really kind of just let whatever evolved on the page evolve and not really worry about it so much. Like, there's really no rhyme or reason to it. It's just whatever I felt like doodling in the moment or writing in that particular space. I didn't really have a plan. It just kind of unfolded however it is that it needed to unfold. So here we have my next weekly reading, and this one I might have just kind of gone a little overboard with, but I was super inspired by this design, the honeycomb shape and the dot in the middle. For some reason, that just really, really drew my attention, and I really wanted to spend some time kind of tapping into that energy. So as I was kind of looking at the card and kind of thinking about the reading as a whole as it was laying on my table, I started doodling this design here. And of course, I did this before I put anything else on the page. So it's a full design back there, even though this card is kind of covering it. And I was just kind of playing with some tombos, playing with some colors, trying to get the colors fairly close, but really just focusing more in on the shape and the design of it than anything that was really just drawing me in. I ended up writing collaboration, which was my keyword for the week, pulled from this card. And then we have my cards from the Ink Witch. And again, this is another one where I just pulled some doodles from the different cards. So we have this kind of dragonfly, which ended up looking more like a butterfly each time I drew it, like more and more like a butterfly. So I pulled those in there. I pulled the plants here from the Five of Cups. So again, just some little doodle elements to kind of tie it all together. And then I had my bee washi, and I just cut out some of my bees from my bee washi and stuck them on there because I wanted to pull in the bee energy as well. So here we have just a really simple message for Monday with my 3-card reading, and then I came back on Friday and kind of reflected back on what lesson I learned from all of this throughout the week. So on the last Sunday of the month, I did another same self-care reading. And this time I had Story as my main card, and I had my Queen of Pentacles. I love when she turns up in a reading. And the channel with the yucca plant for the flora healing and the lovers. And so in this one, design-wise, again, it was just, I didn't really think about it, right? I picked an element off a card and I just doodled something to reflect that energy. For this isn't exact, but again, I was kind of inspired by this shape on dress here, or her cloak. And so I wanted to kind of mimic that here. There's another one over here. It's totally upside down. That's okay. And I wanted to pull in some of her butterflies, so I popped one of those here. And again, pulling in these little flowery type of things, so those are down here. And all of this kind of gray swirliness, which I don't do so well at with my tombos. I'm still really learning how to color with them. Line work is more my thing. Coloring is not really my thing, but I'm working on it. So I just kind of scribbled some of that along the page at the top and bottom and called it good. And again, there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just kind of whatever I feel like plunking down, wherever I feel like plunking it down in the moment. Maybe it doesn't end up looking quite so cohesive on the page, but I definitely enjoy the process of not worrying about what it's gonna look like in the end. I'm just kind of tapping into that creative energy and letting it just carry me across wherever it needs to take me. And that's always a fun thing for me to do. This one is one of my favorite ones. This is the last reading that I did for the month of August. And because there was only 2 days left in the month, I just left it as just Monday, and that's going to move forward for my week ahead, and I'll maybe check back in just on my own later. But this one was so much fun. I wanted to play with my markers. That's really where this started with, I was like, I love how these 3 cards all have super compatible colors. They almost all look like they could have been colored with the same inks, the same markers, the same colors. And so I wanted to pull that energy in. And so I went through my tombos and I got a couple colors that I felt like matched close enough. Again, I don't have a huge selection of tombos, so a lot of times I just have to go with whatever's close enough. And I started down here at the bottom with this kind of pinky color, and I scribbled some of that across the page. And then I scribbled some of the gray, and then I scribbled in some of the beige throughout. And then I really wanted to mimic this kind of shape that was going on in this cloud here. So I did this big black blob. I originally wrote the word change, which is the keyword I picked out up here. I didn't like it. I didn't like the way it looks, so I just colored back over it with the marker. It didn't color so well, but that's okay. Before I laid my cards down, I wanted this kind of moon shape behind her head, so I put that in here with my white gel pen and just added some lines in there. Put my 3 cards in, and then I did, again, just pulling in some really simple elements from my tarot cards. We have kind of the leaves from the King of Wands throughout, and the kind of bubbles from the Queen of Cups throughout as well. And again, just tying them all together. And then I realized I really, really wanted some of this purple. So that's down here just because I just wanted some purple. So I wrote the keyword from my oracle card here, and I ended up writing, just filling this space in here with the unfolding in my life, because I really wanted to remind myself that this has been a month of change for sure, and that it's unfolding in my life the way it needs to. And that was just something that I really needed to remember for kind of wrapping up the month of August. And so here we have my reflections on that. And it's just kind of a reminder that change is just a part of life. So that one was a lot of fun. I actually spent quite a bit of time just playing with that one. So you can see that my this month was really more just kind of focusing on the creative energies, because that was what I was really lacking just within myself. And so I allowed my tarot journal to not only provide me with messages in terms of my cards, but to also create some creative space for me to feel free to play and to be creative and experiment, because I wasn't able to do that in my everyday life because of all the different things going on. I just didn't have time. And so this was the one place that I was really able to dive deep into that creative play, and it was really fun to let that explore. Again, it really started with this being my inspiration piece for just letting things flow however it is that they wanted to flow. And as I mentioned in my monthly reflections, these decks were really key to helping me just kind of cultivate some creativity for myself throughout the month, because again, it was really lacking. But you can see like the huge difference between where I started this month, right? Really, really simple, nothing crazy, not a lot of color, just some paper and some ink, to my last entry, which is like full on, I colored the whole page, and there's doodles and there's like all kinds of stuff going on. So I love that I can see this kind of transition. Does it make the month a little bit unbalanced maybe, or it's not quite so cohesive between from page to page or week to week? Yeah, sure. I mean, this page looks totally different than this page, which looks totally different than this page. But to me, this is the fun of it. It allows me to be creative and to connect with my readings in more than just, here's what I need to know for today, which is all wonderful. But for me, this definitely helps me to take my practice to the next level. And I really appreciate that I have that opportunity to do that with my decks and my cards and my journals. And it's definitely something that helps me find inspiration throughout the month. So there you go. That is a look at August in my tarot journal. I hope that you enjoyed this video. And as always, thank you so much for joining me. And I look forward to seeing you again soon for more creative tarot for an inspired life.